like with the Kambo though, it was like I felt like the energy like pulling from like my heart and like my brain, and then coming out of my mouth like.
Beautiful.
All right, so it's nice and early in the morning. I'm going to kind of vlog this experience. So right now I'm going to pack my things up and heading about a half hour out to Baytown from Houston. Here we go. So it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. Luckily things got pushed back a little bit today, because I would have had to be across town by 8:30. There is a fast associated with this, so it's helpful to have it in the morning. You really want to be on an empty stomach. Some sources say 10 hours. She specifically said 4 hours would be fine, my shaman. The harder part for me is the water fast. So this is a dry fast. So it's a few hours after my first Kambo journey, and yeah, it was definitely interesting. So as I'm walking through it, we kind of did a ritualistic thing. We kind of cleansed ourselves with, I think it was sage, and she kind of did that and got prepared.
Another breath in through the nose, through the heart space.
Our shaman's name was Stephanie. She was awesome. I'll post links down below to her information too. There were 2 people who went to the ceremony. It was me and one other person, so I went first. After things got prepared, the shaman went ahead and lit the sticks. And so you're to receive, I guess most of the time, your first time, you're gonna get 3 burns, maybe 4. I decided to get them on my chest, which coincidentally, it moves a lot faster through and hits a lot quicker because it's so close to your heart. Whereas most people choose to get them on their arms and stuff. I have some tattoos and I plan on getting more work, so I didn't want to have any scars there, but so I got mine right about here. So yeah, after the burns, you're to take down, I mean, I brought a gallon with me, so it's typically at least 2 liters of water, but it was a big old pitcher. I don't know, I felt like I almost downed the entire gallon of my water. Probably not quite, but definitely more than a half gallon. And you pretty much just drink all that. But what's supposed to happen is the water is kind of just like a catalyst. You're gonna consume all that water, and then as the toxins flow through your body, your lymph nodes, your stomach lining will absorb all that into the water. And so that's what you'll be purging. You're not purging like people throw up and stuff, but when you're vomiting, you're expelling the water that's been tainted with all the toxicity in your body, whether that's parasites, bacteria, could be anything. While she's preparing the other girl, I'm gonna go ahead and drink all that liquid, just the water. And once we're kind of finishing up and getting situated, she's gonna go ahead and administer the actual medicine. So after a little bit, the burns are going to blister. They break the blister, clean those off so there's not any kind of infection or anything like that. And they'll keep the medicine on those wounds. So some practitioners will have people kind of tap out if it's too intense or too much for the person. I guess my shaman would do that, but she advises against it. And so in my experience, I guess about 2 minutes into it, I start feeling, the first thing I actually feel is my earlobes just pulsating and drooping. And I start feeling my face kind of drooping, like a real heavy feeling. I start feeling sensations through my arms and my legs, just kind of a sensation of something kind of coursing through, nothing too unpleasant, but there is kind of a pulsating, kind of a heat, nothing too uncomfortable the first couple minutes in. So we're about 5 minutes in and I start feeling it in my stomach quite a bit. I look over the person who's doing the ritual with me. She's already letting it go in her bucket. Some time's going by, I'm patient, nothing's happening though. And I start questioning myself, like if things are going okay, because I do know you need to purge that water eventually. So I just kind of breathe, I'm patient with myself, and then I kind of think to myself, well, maybe in my scenario, it's supposed to come out the other end. So I figured I'd go to the restroom, sit down with the bucket, see if it came out one end or the other. And by this time, I kind of wanted things out of me. I could really feel things stirring up in my stomach. Things were pretty unpleasant. I was just kind of closing my eyes. It may have just been from the uncomfortable situation or something, but I was getting some like slight visuals, but nothing like, whoa, I'm tripping. It was just some slight visuals and a lot of weird, uncomfortable feelings too. And I could kind of feel them coursing through my intestines and my stomach, and just very uneasy. Something like, you know, you have a flu or something and you want to throw it up, but also something deeper than that and kind of wrenching in a sense. So it wasn't unbearable, but it was definitely uncomfortable. And so I'm sitting there for like 15 minutes with my eyes closed, breathing, kind of meditating, but just trying to find some comfort somewhere, and nothing was happening. So at this point I'm like, okay, I go back to the other room where the ceremony was taking place. I kind of take a knee there, and then I feel it, and everything just poof. And once it started, you know, it was all getting let out. So it's probably about 5 minutes of me just really letting it go, purging, which is the whole point of this. It was actually a relief. It wasn't painful or anything. Since there was so much water, it wasn't very acidic. I did feel like that typical little bit of vomit sting or whatever. For the most part, it just felt really good to purge it all out. And after about 5 minutes, when I think I was done, I felt still a little something down deep in there, but for the most part, I felt awesome. So the other person participating with me in the ceremony, she was having a rough time. I guess she was getting off some SSRIs and some anxiety medication and Ritalin specifically too. And she was looking to go into more holistic practice, which is why she was doing this too. So I guess it'd been about a week and she hadn't taken anything, but she was purging like crazy and crying, and it can be emotional. I personally, I felt bad feelings in my stomach that I felt like I purged up, but nothing like I didn't cry or I wasn't, you know, overly emotional about anything, although I was expecting it. But yeah, she seemed to have a lot more to purge than I did. I will say I've been eating clean for a really long time. Couple of years now. I'm not drinking, but yeah, no drugs, no alcohol, no sugar, not even really starches, eat super clean, only drink water. So I probably didn't have all that much to purge because I've been on this cleanse for quite a while. But I will say that I felt like I've had sinusitis issues from mold at work, at my office, and I've just kind of been in a funk lately, and some of it's just for that emotional kind of thing. It could be that I'm just discouraged with my job situation right now, maybe a little bit overwhelmed as a breadwinner, single father. But yeah, I've just kind of been out of touch. But yeah, so I still felt like I had a little residual. So at the given time, I think the shaman first re-wetted the medicine, and I didn't feel much from that. She went ahead and flipped the medicine over on each wound, so I guess you kind of get a little more punch. It does eventually wear out at some point, but I did feel like a little kick when she did that, like it was kind of revving back up, but I didn't end up vomiting. And she did administer some like sacred tobacco.
Breathe in. Hold. Through your mouth.
Some kind of a tobacco blend. Blew it straight up my nostrils. I will say that was a little uncomfortable too. And she said it was good at clearing sinuses, so I went with it. But I asked her why it was so spicy, and she said there is a blend with paprika in it. So the tobacco, I don't know if it was good for me or not, but it did not induce vomiting. I think at that point I was done. I kind of told myself if there's any kind of residual, maybe I'll make a move later, the other end. I've felt kind of off temperature-wise ever since I had the old C19 a few months ago. And what happened was I got that, and then a few weeks later, I actually got bit by what I'm almost 100% positive was a brown widow. I got a huge rash on my leg, felt really ill. I could barely move my ankle, legs swelled up. And I noticed behind my toilet a few days later after I started investigating that there was a whole web with like 3 brown widows just right behind my toilet. So given all that, I've been kind of in a funk, I've been off, I don't feel like I've completely recouped, and not to mention just the state of the way society is right now, given the whole C word, just how we've been the past couple of years. But for me, just like physically, emotionally, spiritually, I just needed a good cleanse. So yeah, the before purge and everything, I'd say was about like 15 to 20 minutes. I'd say I felt kind of like spacey and stuff up until another like half hour or 40 minutes. I was a little off just because I wasn't in my routine all day, but and I'd been fasting and I just vomited, so I wasn't 100%. I'm still like a little spacey. I had a banana afterwards, but I haven't really had a legit meal. I did want to account for this pretty much as soon as I got home, just so I wouldn't miss any of the details. So as it goes, typically, I mean, people say like after the first day you really need to recoup and stuff and you feel pretty lousy. But I will say I am feeling a lot better already, and I even had some anxiety, which I hadn't had in a while, start to come back up, and after purging, that completely went away too. They do say these effects kind of take a little while to cascade. It could be, you know, I'll start noticing things the next day or the next week. And the bigger picture with this is these cascading effects kind of change your habits, and that even snowballs more into just being more cleansely, more self-aware and about what you're consciously putting in your body. So I think for someone who maybe is using drugs or alcohol or is eating really poorly, this experience could be a little more intense. For me, I will say, like, once I purged, the discomfort I kind of like meditated through, and it wasn't a huge deal, although I will say it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't like killing me. But after the purge, I was getting up, I was filming, more stuff. I felt like a little boost of energy. So another thing to expect in the next couple of days is a boost of energy too. You're getting out parasites, you're getting out heavy metals, you're getting out a lot of things that might inhibit you or mess with your mood. You're kind of fixing your gut biome. One thing I did ask the shaman is if it just wiped out your gut biome, which it doesn't. It only targets, the negative bad stuff, the parasites, the bad bacteria, candida, stuff like that. So all in all, it was definitely a pleasant experience. To be honest, I threw myself into the fire and guinea pigged myself ASAP because my brother and my mother have lots of gut issues and they have autoimmune issues. So this was kind of like me throwing myself in the fire, accounting for all this. I'd rather sacrifice myself, have firsthand experience to be able to share with them. Of course, I could use it too. But yeah, one of my main priorities was to see how it would work for me and then kind of share that information on, which is why I tried to document all this in the first place. In researching this isn't very common ground, and it's not something very popular because at least with things like ayahuasca, there's visuals, it's kind of romanticized, even though you're purging. This is pretty much strictly purging. Although I will say there were some slight waves of euphoria. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I would definitely recommend kind of working on things beforehand, like tweaking your diet, or at least acknowledging things that you want to set intention for. So yeah, I definitely recommend this experience. It was definitely awesome, kind of mystical. Lots of different emotions and feelings tied in with this too. I can see that spiritual aspect. And I guess in the next week or so, we'll see where this takes me. A lot of people have said it's been life-changing for them. And, like I said, it changes little things that kind of snowball. And my main thing was just primarily a spiritual cleanse. I've been in a funk, but also there's nothing wrong with a physical cleanse as well. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of information on this. So I really just wanted to document my experience to be able to share it with more people.